For weeks now, we've had no dedicated VR support for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, apart from user-made VorpX profile, which works well enough but definitely has its flaws, and it's quite overwhelming to set up. But the almighty Luke Ross has risen to the occasion once again by adding it to his ever-growing Real VR mod list. I present thee with Thy Kingdom Cometh 2, Real VR Edition. As always, the Luke Ross mods are the easiest VR mods to set up by a mile. And again, this game is no different. I'll have all the setup information, VR settings and system settings towards the end of the video. So if you don't know how to set it up or are struggling to get the optimal performance while still retaining the visual quality without any lag or ghosting, make sure to watch those parts of the video. I've already been playing the game in VR for the past few weeks with VorpX, and the first thing I noticed with the Luke Ross mod is that I have to run the game at a much lower resolution and with lower graphics settings than what I could achieve with VorpX. But the Luke Ross mod is better in many other ways despite having to run at a slightly lower resolution and graphic settings. The mod enables 3D viewing of cutscenes and chat scenes, which makes it feel like a true VR game. And some of the cutscenes are just absolutely amazing, being able to watch them at different angles. Your inventory, map, and journal all load up fully displayed in front of you without needing to manually zoom in and out. It does, however, have the same issue as VorpX when using a keyboard and mouse, which obviously has something to do with the game and not the mods, as Luke has also pointed this out. There seems to be an issue with the mouse pointer not lining up correctly with anything when navigating with it, which most likely has to do with the square resolution needed to be used to view the games within VR, but a PC game controller works completely fine. I've actually been switching between a keyboard and mouse and a game controller as I am too used to playing with it that way. I find combat easier with the mouse opposed to the controller, but I've had to switch to the controller to navigate the map. There's also a slight popping issue when riding a horse. Something in the UI will just randomly flash in front of you from time to time, which is very annoying, and hopefully Luke knows about the issue and will fix it with an upcoming update. But apart from those small issues, the game runs and plays extremely well in VR. And this is only the first version for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, so there'll definitely be some updates from time to time. Out of both VorpX and Luke Ross's Real VR mod, I would recommend the Real VR mod, as it is much more well optimized than VorpX, and you'll just have a more seamless experience. To get the mod, you'll need to be a member of Luke Ross's Patreon page for a minimum of 1 month, but keep in mind that this mod now supports 31 games, which I'll have listed in the description. Once on the Patreon page, find the pinned post at the top and download the zip at the bottom of that post. This post is usually up to date with the latest version of the mod. The version should be 18.0.0 or later. If the pinned post hasn't been updated to the new version yet, just scroll down a little to find the post named Audentes Fortuna Uvat and download that version of the mod. Once downloaded, extract the zip anywhere on your computer and then copy all of its contents. Now go to Steam, open the options for Kingdom Come 2, select Manage, and then browse local files. But make sure before installing the mod that you've run the game at least once for it to generate the config files. You'll need to paste the copied files to where the actual exe is located, which is in bin Win64 Master Steam PGO. Once pasted, you can now run the real config file. A window will pop up asking you to confirm, and just click run anyway. The config should automatically install, and then hit any key to continue. If it doesn't run successfully, then you may not be in the correct folder, or you haven't run the game first. Make sure you're in the exact folder where the exe is locating, which may be in different locations depending on your platform. If you're using a MetaQuest, make sure to set the MetaQuest link as the ActiveX runtime within the MetaQuest link app settings. Before loading the game in VR, the following settings should have been applied automatically when running the config. Within the display options, make sure the window mode has been set to window, VSync is turned off, frame rate should be set permanently to 240 FPS, motion blur is switched off, and near depth of field is off. I'd also recommend starting the game at a lower graphical setting of either medium or high before loading into VR. Now you can exit the game, put your headset on, and load the game through VR. Once you open up the game in VR, you should have the Real VR console open. You can open and close this by pressing the pause break key on your keyboard. As far as I can tell, the resolution in-game and the target pixel per degree are linked to each other, so if you change one, it would change the other automatically, as the in-game settings have custom set resolutions that you can choose from. The highest setting is 4784 by 3920, which I don't recommend using unless you probably have a 5090 or are using a Pimax Crystal or something similar. For MetaQuest 3 users like myself, I could only get stable gameplay on the second highest setting of 4240 by 3472. I'm also using a 4090, so if you're running the game with a lower end graphics card, then you may need to lower the resolution even more. The higher the resolution you can run it, the better, but if you go too far than your GPU or headset can handle, you will notice extreme lag and ghosting. where things will display as double images briefly as you move, so keep an eye on any ghosting or lag that may be present when experimenting with your resolution. Do not run this game with experimental settings enabled at all, unless you have a 5090. The game would crash often, even with a 4090, so stick to either ultra or high quality graphics. If you have a lower end graphics card and want a fully detailed guide on getting the best performance without sacrificing too much visual quality, I would recommend looking up Benchmarking's performance guide on his YouTube channel, which I'll have the link in the description. But both these videos will only be a place for you to start. You will need to experiment with the settings yourself to find the best settings for your specific graphics card. If you're using a 4090 or better, you should be able to run it on DLSS 4 with transformer and set to quality. Anything less may require you to run it on either performance or balance modes. And again, make sure VSync, motion blur and depth of field are all set to off. Now, I could possibly run the game at higher settings, but I'm also running 20+ HD graphics mods, which I'll add all my recommended mods in the description if you want to check them out. And some of them will definitely be more helpful than others when running the game in VR, like first person herb picking and dialogue options. Now, the only thing left to do is to go and enjoy Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in VR. Let me know in the comments what resolution and graphic settings you've been able to push the game comfortably with in VR, and what VR headset and GPU you're using. Your settings may well be useful for many others. Until next time, have fun gaming.
Ah!